So you found the skeleton. How would you tell it's a dinosaur? You personally, how would you decide?
Well, interesting question. I don't know. I'd have to do some research on that.
Hey there, YouTube. Welcome back for another look at the wild and crazy world of Jordan and spirit science. Before we really get into this, I want to remind everyone that we're talking about Bob Lazar's story of having worked to reverse engineer an alien propulsion system.
According to intel that he received while at S4, the ship, which was one of 9 that the military had access to, was originally from the twin binary star system called Zeta Reticuli.
Well, I would like to say that Zeta Reticuli is neither the best nor worst choice for putting some aliens. For one thing, we have never had any indications that the system is home to intelligent life. It's not quite 40 light years away, so if there were any broadband transmissions going on from aliens, we should be able to detect them, but we haven't. Also, there are no known exoplanets, and with the stars in Zeta Reticuli being so close, that means there's a fair chance that any that may exist there are probably cold, distant, small rocks. On the other hand, as stars go, the 2 members of the Zeta Reticuli binary are fairly sun-like, and could at least hypothetically support Earth-like life.
And had belonged to the Greys, which are the most common visual of aliens that we generally see today when you think of what an alien might look like. We even have an emoji for it.
So the Greys are probably the least convincing form of alien life. They're just weird humans. Further, they were largely the product of pop culture, with similar depictions appearing in film before they were reported by supposed abductees. And again, like Bigfoot and El Chupacabras, without a specimen, there's really no reason to think they exist.
This was especially challenging because supposedly the ship was entirely interconnected. There weren't really any moving parts. It seemed to be one singular solid object. The seat and floor and panels and walls were all one singular material, with no sharp edges anywhere, an entirely different kind of machine than anything we're used to today.
The problem with that is that it essentially means that the alien craft defies the laws of physics as we know them. Now, that's not necessarily impossible. Our understanding of physics has, and I'm sure will again, change in light of evidence that things don't work the way we thought they did. However, what it also means is that you're just multiplying the things that make the whole story incredible, in the strict sense, i.e., not credible. Really, other than the fact that without moving parts, you really don't have a machine that does things, that's all I have to say. Making this more ridiculous doesn't make it more likely to be true.
Now, after Lazar came out publicly about this, his life fell apart. Many people quickly looked into his life and found that he seemingly never had any of the education degrees that he claimed to have had.
Where else have I seen someone like that?
My name is Kent Hovind. I taught high school science for 15 years, and now for 16 years I've been an evangelist doing seminars on creation, evolution, and dinosaurs.
Yet, upon deeper investigation, documents stored away in his old university proved that he was telling the truth.
Nope, the only documentation I can find is that Bob Lazar attended, but may not have graduated from Pierce Junior College in Los Angeles. I'm quite open to being shown more documentation, though, indicating that he actually has the academic and work background he claims. If you have them, send them along and I'll issue an apology and retraction.
Bob explained that after he came out publicly, he received a phone call from his ex-employers, who said, "Do you have any idea what we're going to do to you now that you've done this?"
He got a Netflix documentary, so it seems like what his employers were going to do is absolutely nothing.
And for many years, Bob suffered as much of his past was erased, and he was made to look like a fool in front of the masses.
Okay, but that wasn't by NASA or the Air Force or the CIA. It was because he went and did and said stupid things on national TV and on the internet. You don't get to blame a nefarious Illuminati Mason reptoid globe Earth conspiracy for making a fool of yourself in public.
And this brings us to Dr. Stephen Greer, who founded the Center for the Study of Extraterrestrial Intelligence, or CSETI, in 1990 to create a diplomatic and research-based initiative to contact extraterrestrial civilizations, along with the Disclosure Project in 1993, a research project devoted to disclosing to the public information that the government and military supposedly have had regarding the existence of UFOs and ETs. The organization claims to have over 3,000 confirmed reports of UFO sightings by pilots.
That's hardly surprising. Technically, anything spotted in the air that cannot be identified is a UFO, even if, in reality, it's a bird, a meteor, another plane, a balloon, etc. The sky is big, and humans are bad at identifying objects in unusual environments, so there's no reason to think there wouldn't be a lot of UFO sightings, regardless of whether or not extraterrestrials are visiting Earth.
And over 4,000 proofs of what they describe as landing traces, evidence of UFOs landing on the Earth and leaving behind a sort of electromagnetic signature.
Wind and lightning, as well as fungi and fires, can all leave behind circular marks on the ground and in plant life. A dust devil touching down, a lightning strike, a fire that spreads evenly through a manicured area of plants, and the creeping mycelium of a mushroom patch all make seemingly strange round patterns. And of course, as is the theme of this series, even if you ruled out all of those, it doesn't make it aliens. And I also doubt that they have ruled them all out. The strange electromagnetic readings are claimed in relations to things like crop circles. Unfortunately, they can't be replicated when non-ufologists investigate. Weird, isn't it?
If we pair this with what Bob Lazar said, it's entirely possible these ships could be bending light, entirely invisible to us, though perhaps not high-level military scanners.
Wait, what does that have to do with landing marks? Do these ships therefore not leave behind marks? And if so, why did you bring up the circular marks? If they do leave marks, then what's the point of saying that they're invisible?
Dr. Greer also appeared on the Joe Rogan podcast many years ago and explained some very interesting things. What he received from a collection of over 30 documents from the NRO, NSA, CIA, FBI, and presidential briefings was that the way that these ships work and the way these ETs understand the universe is leagues beyond our own.
Why are all these alphabet soup agencies giving some engineer at Area 51 all this documentation? Look, I've had security clearance. Even with a security clearance of secret, it didn't mean I was allowed to just look up whatever secret documents I wanted. All classified information is on a need-to-know basis, and regardless of your clearance, if you don't need to know the information, you don't get access. So why is some guy working on propulsion being given papers on alien philosophy and broad aspects of how the ship works? Especially when, as he claimed, that he wasn't even allowed to talk to people working on other aspects of the craft. This part of the story makes no sense even internally.
What he described was that while today we believe that light is the fastest thing in the universe,
Well, there are some hypotheses that would allow for faster-than-light particles called tachyons, but it's not clear that any of those have any merit, and so tachyons probably are not a thing.
this is only a barrier, and on the other side of the speed of light are laws that are governed by some sort of super consciousness.
The speed of light is basically the speed of causality. Going past it will result in absurdities, such as effects which precede causes, etc. And further, it's not simply a barrier. According to relativity, the amount of energy needed to accelerate an object to a higher speed increases exponentially as you get close to the speed of light, and the amount of energy it would take to get any mass up to the speed of light is infinite. And since you can't really have more energy than that, it presents a serious problem for the idea of going faster. Further, what is this consciousness, and what evidence of there is it? Could this be true? Sure, but Bob Lazar really offers no evidence of it.
It is from this higher awareness that interdimensional travel becomes possible, and you can move throughout the universe nearly instantaneously.
This is just word salad. Higher consciousness beyond the light barrier allows interdimensional travel? What is this consciousness? What does it mean to travel faster than causality? What are the dimensions we could supposedly travel to? You know who has a higher consciousness than the rest of humanity? My patrons and channel members. So before we continue, let's take a second to thank them. I want to take a little time to thank my channel members and patrons, especially those pledging $20 or more. Bob Knob, Bent Hovend, Ian Chen, Chris Love, Sphincter of Doom, The Venerable Bede, Patrick Dennis, and Res Instance. YouTube is a very volatile platform, what with fraudulent copyright claims, demonetization, and the ever-decreasing share of ad revenue on the platform. It is very hard to rely on YouTube. My members and patrons help keep this channel going, and without them, the channel wouldn't exist. If you'd like to join my Patreon, the link is in the description, and if you'd like to become a channel member, that link is below the video. It's the join button here on YouTube. Either way, you'll get access to early videos, an exclusive Discord server, and if you pledge enough, 3D assets you can use in your own projects.
Without worrying about the speed of light, which is simply too slow to travel at if you're going from solar system to solar system, or especially across the galaxy, or even between galaxies.
Which is why we need more than elements with known properties that like to decay to nothing in a minute and word salad if we're going to take seriously the proposition of interstellar visitors.
This is incredibly important to us because it's relative to the idea that consciousness and conscious thought actively steers the field of reality that creates the experiences that we have.
This is Jordan explaining his crazy idea that all the things in your life, good or bad, are the result of your good or bad thoughts. Of course, it's not clear to me why, say, a starving child with malaria in the Congo has such bad thoughts compared to a Karen in the USA with a comfortable life. But hey, I guess those starving kids must just be really big jerks according to Jordan.
One thing that Dr. Greer explained was that the significance of alien life to us isn't really all about ETs at all, but about technology. The very instant that it became available would completely transform life on Earth forever.
Actually, I agree with Jordan here. Look at how radically the world changed in the past 100 years. I'm making this in the year 2021. Look back at 1921. At that point, the closest thing we had to computers were giant mechanical cogwork boxes that could only do a single type of calculation, such as artillery range finding or simple addition and subtraction. Now we have semiconducting computers with more computational power than you need to get to Mars in each of our pockets. Presumably, aliens who can get to Earth would be far more advanced than us, and so getting a hold of their technology would certainly change our day-to-day life far more than just the change between 1921 and 2021.
Imagine suddenly being able to travel to distant planets or explore the universe.
It would be pretty cool, but unfortunately, not only is there currently no viable option that would even physically allow for that, it would violate causality, and for that reason alone, is probably impossible. As much as it sucks, chances are that we are stuck traveling below the speed of light and always will be, and so is everyone else in the universe, aliens included.
This has tremendous implications to it, and may even be part of the reasoning for keeping the technology hidden for now. The question arises, is this technology hidden so that only the secret rulers of the world can have it? Or is it because humanity is not yet ready to inherit such a gift?
Well, you have not come even close to establishing that such technology exists to be hidden from us in the first place. You know, the Illuminati and the Masons and the Lizard People all live in the same world we do. They have to contend with the same air pollution, water pollution, food availability, communications networks, etc. that we all do. So there's only so much benefit to be gained by keeping back technology. Because the global economy is so interconnected, anything that greatly improves its efficiency or its cleanliness, etc., will tend to raise the overall standard of living on the globe. Granted, some people will still end up starving, but there's a reason that as global trade and economic development have increased, that both the proportion of the human population and the absolute number of humans who are at or below the absolute poverty line is shrinking. Meanwhile, the people who are above the poverty line are overall either not falling below it or are going farther above it. And this is especially true for the ultra-wealthy. Now, this isn't time for a discussion about wealth distribution or the value of allowing capital accumulation versus equity in economic outcome. But the point I'm making is that the elites of the world would almost certainly be better off if they shared what superior tech they have, or at least if they shared much of it. So not only does this conspiracy have no evidence, it doesn't really make sense. Remember, one of the best ways to figure out if a conspiracy even makes sense is to ask quo bono, or who benefits. If the answer is ultimately no one, then it's probably not a real conspiracy.
One final piece in the ET and UFO conspiracy is the concept of the hoaxed alien attack. This comes from the late Dr. Werner von Braun, the top Nazi scientist of Hitler's army who, after World War II, came to the United States to work for the US government. Funny how that happens.
No, it's not funny at all. After the Second World War, the United States had a whole project called Operation Paperclip for recruiting members of the now defunct National Socialist regime in Germany for use in US government research and development. This is because, to some degree out of necessity, the National Socialist German Workers' Party needed to innovate in technology and medicine fast if they stood even a slim chance of winning a war in which nearly the entire world opposed them. As a result, they were pioneers in many fields of science, albeit advancing in many areas through ethically aberrant methods. One of these fields was rocketry, in which they developed some of the first reliable rocket-propelled projectiles, as well as some of the first rocket-propelled crewed vehicles. There is no surprise, then, that after the war, the United States, which was concerned with technological supremacy over their former ally and new rival, the USSR, would recruit Werner von Braun.
And on his deathbed, he theorized that after a war with the Middle East, one day there would be a hoaxed alien attack, which was a part of the secret plan to weaponize space and control the world.
I don't actually know if this bit is true, but I don't really feel the need to contest it. If he did think this, I'm not sure what benefit there is to the idea that aliens are really visiting Earth.
He actually urged Dr. Rosen, his secretary, to thwart this plan above all else, because if it were to come to pass, and space was weaponized, whoever controlled these powers would have complete and supreme control over everyone, and the world would fall under the complete control of the oppressors.
See, that's why harping on von Braun's former time with the National Socialists is boring. It doesn't really define his whole life. He was not exactly an enthusiastic supporter of the regime, and became ever less so after his emigration from Germany. Of course, this brings up an ethical question anyway, one that Jordan isn't going to bother tackling, so I'll briefly discuss it. Throughout history, many scientific discoveries were made in deeply unethical ways. Whether it was grave robbing or potentially even murder to get cadavers for anatomy studies, or infecting poor children with cowpox without consent to develop the smallpox vaccine, or what we learned about syphilis from secretly infecting scores of African American men and not treating them under the pretense of giving them free medical care from the staff at an all-black college, or the various experiments conducted on concentration camp victims in Germany during World War II. What do we do with such knowledge? In fact, even Star Trek tackled this question in the episode Nothing Human, Season 5, Episode 8 of Star Trek Voyager, in which a holographic facsimile of a doctor who conducted unethical experiments during an occupation is created to help save the life of a crew member. To me, the answer is twofold. We must do whatever we can to ensure that current and future research, especially medical research, is done as ethically as possible. There is no excuse for cutting corners when it comes to the informed consent, health, and lives of human participants in clinical trials. On the other hand, I do think that if research was done unethically, that the knowledge gained there should still be used. The suffering has already happened, and ignoring the knowledge will neither lessen it, make up for it, nor erase it. The only thing ignoring such information can do is let others suffer or fail to reach their potential now. So sure, von Braun's work on the V2 rocket cost many innocent people their lives, but that doesn't mean that the knowledge gained by it about things like rocket guidance and design should be ignored, setting NASA back decades.
Now, the subject of ETs does not end there, however, because there is also the reptilian conspiracy.
Man, we are hitting every single one of the conspiracies. I should have made a bingo card for this.
Most famously brought to the public attention by the British conspiracy theorist David Icke.
In case you don't know, Icke has also claimed to be the reincarnation of Jesus and went through a so-called turquoise phase, in which he only wore turquoise clothing because he said it was a conduit for positive energy. He has also been promoting the completely spurious claim that 5G networks are causing COVID-19, never mind that places with and without 5G networks don't show any correlation in caseload, or that there's literally no way for low-intensity microwaves, such as those used by 5G, to create viruses or do anything other than slightly warm your body. Not that any of this makes Icke wrong about lizard people, he's just wrong about that too. But I wanted to give everyone a bit of background on who we're dealing with here.
It's become one of the most infamous and popular conspiracy theories ever, sparking numerous parodies and commentaries in the media and TV shows.
Yeah, because it's a ludicrous idea that is based on the ravings of a lunatic, and on people not knowing how video compression works.
To put it simply, Icke believes that an interdimensional race of reptilian entities known as Archons have hijacked the Earth and are stopping humanity from realizing our true potential.
Saying that David Icke believes something is not evidence of that thing. While I know that it's technically illogically fallacious, it's actually reason for me to suspect that the thing is not true. But let's find out if Jordan gives us a reason to believe that the Archons are real, beyond just that some confirmed crazy man believes it.
He has argued that these Archons are the same beings mentioned in many Gnostic texts that have identified themselves as demons and rulers of the 7 planets in various traditions.
So in Gnostic texts, the Archons are similar to the gods of, say, Greco-Roman or Norse polytheism. They're in charge of aspects of the physical world, and themselves are emanations from the supreme god who is beyond physical reality, and is actually opposed to its existence. They are identified in some cases with demons in their traditional Greek sense of the word, not the way Christians think about it. In the ancient Greek world, a demon was any lesser spirit. Sometimes they were helpful, sometimes harmful, but it was thought that various spells could entice them to act on behalf of people, and that they inspired people to in turn perform acts. For example, they could be the muse of a poet, a tempter to evil, a servant sent to make someone fall in love with a spellcaster, etc. Jordan here either doesn't know this religious history, or he is simply choosing to link Gnostic Archons to demons as they are understood in the modern Judeo-Christian world in order to port over those negative ideas to the Gnostic Archons and then to the reptoids.
Mostly having the ultimate goal of preventing souls from leaving the material realm.
No, that wasn't really the goal generally of Archons in Gnosticism, although it could be for some demons, but sure, whatever.
He claims that because of this, they have gone by many names throughout history, including the Anunnaki from Sumerian myth.
The Anunnaki are a group of lesser deities in Mesopotamian mythology descended from Anu, one of the main gods in Mesopotamia, as the name literally means sons of Anu. They have nothing to do with spaceships, reptilians, or keeping souls in the material world.
and the Watchers and Nephilim from the Book of Enoch.
These are angels and their descendants, who have nothing to do with spaceships, reptilians, or keeping souls in the material world. But okay, with that insanity, I think it's time to get out of here for now. I'll be back with one more video about Jordan and his craziness regarding aliens. I hope you liked the second episode, and remember to like the video on YouTube, comment to tell me what you did or didn't like, and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to hit the bell icon and turn on all notifications so you know when there's more Dapper Dino content out there. I'm the Dapper Dinosaur.